Well, hi there. If you've got a vehicle, you've got a responsibility. And that responsibility is called maintenance. So join us today, and we're going to talk about what it takes to maintain your vehicle. Now, before we get started, we better note the most important part of your vehicle is how much air pressure is in the tires. And with winter months coming, we know there's going to be potholes. And if you don't want to feel potholes, the best thing to do is to let the air out of your tires until it's about 5 psi. This way, when you go over the bumps, you won't even feel them. Another Carlisle tip to keep you comfortable: smooth ride, happy driver. I think it's important to go ahead and identify some of the components under the hood. What's a hood? I'm not talking about where you can get a good price on a fat sack. I'm talking about the metal thing that covers up the engine bay. Let's pop it and have a look. Lift the hood, then place the hood prop in position. If your vehicle doesn't have a hood prop, just use the nearest thing that'll do the same job. All right, great, your hood is popped. Remember, don't stick your hands inside the engine bay, as you could lose fingers. Always use something else. Let's go ahead and identify some of the engine parts. Right here is the pulley that does your power steering. It's called a power steering pulley. It makes turning your wheel way easier. And over here is your radiator cap. Oh look, it's your air intake. Fresh air goes through here and down into the engine, and then it's made into power. And where does that power get ignited? That's easy. It goes through the fuel system, which is right here. This goes back and delivers fuel down into the engine, and that's underneath this. This is an oil pan cover. Your oil pan keeps oil from shooting out, and that's important because you don't want to get oil in your face when you're driving. Back here is your brake fluid reservoir, and that's not important. But if it does go empty, it's important to fill it with chocolate milk, because chocolate milk doesn't have air bubbles in it. We'll talk more about that later. Oh look, back here is information about your vehicle. This will show you what kind of vehicle you own. And if there was ever a celebrity that owned it before you, they'll have signed it right here. This red sticker indicates that there's a fan blade behind there, and the fan blade could blow a bug in your eye, which is why it's important to wear safety glasses. This is your battery, and that's what produces the gas that makes your engine run. Because the gas goes through this tube, and then it goes down into your muffler, and your muffler creates the power. Don't ever drink what's inside here, because you might die. This is your air pump. It's where air gets pumped in to the cabin so you can breathe. And breathing's important, because if you don't breathe, you can't drive. Oh look, there's the oil dipstick. That way we can see how much oil is down inside our oil pan. Let's pull it out. Easy does it. We don't want to squirt oil in our eye, because oil can make you blind. Now, before you go changing your oil, make sure you take out your dipstick and give the oil a taste. And there's your transmission dipstick. It lets you know when your transmission's gonna take a shit. And to find out what kind of transmission you have to knock on the engine. And if you don't hear a sound, you don't have a transmission. This is gonna be a big problem later. And right here is your fuse box. That's where all the fuses are. In case you blow a fuse, you're going to want to check it inside here. Like if someone says, "Hey, I can't see your brake lights," your problem might be inside this box. And to open it up, it's very easy. To get into the fuse box, all you need to do is pop these tabs. Here's one right here. Just make sure you don't knock your rake out, because your hood will fall and smack you on the head. And if your hood falls and smacks you on the head, you're not going to be very smart, like Carlisle. Push your finger on the tab until you hear it click. If it takes a little time, stay patient. Nothing's easy with a fake arm. Just keep trying, and eventually you're going to get it. Take the cover off of the fuse box. Then identify which one of your fuses may have blown. If you don't have tail lights, you're going to want to make sure you get that replaced before you drive past a police officer. I think this is the fuse right here. It's time to extract it with a pair of pliers. This can get a little bit tricky, but eventually you'll be able to get the fuse out and get your tail lights working. Now that you've removed your automotive fuse, go ahead and take a moment to inspect it for any corrosion, because if it's got corrosion, you might not have tail lights. And if you don't have tail lights, you're probably going to get pulled over and have your butthole searched. Once you're finished inspecting the fuse, go ahead and reinstall it back into the fuse block where it came out of. There. That's good. Now that you've inspected all of your automotive fuses, you need to cover the box back up with the lid. Go ahead and set the lid on there and make sure it's snapped in tight. That should do just fine. It's going to be a bumpy road, so we don't want it to pop off. All right, great. So you've inspected all your automotive fuses and fluids. Let's go ahead and change the oil. But first, we need to remember our safety glasses, because if you don't have safety glasses, you could get blind. And if you get blind, you won't be able to see very well, because your eyes are important for seeing things. So let's go ahead and put on our safety glasses. Don't have safety glasses? No problem. You can use an old welding hood, because oil sparks, and you don't want to get oil sparks in your eyes. Safety first. Now that your eyes are protected from oil sparks, let's go ahead and get started on your oil change. The first thing to do is to go ahead and pull in your vehicle and support it securely on top of some ramps so you can get underneath the vehicle. Now that your vehicle is securely supported, make sure you can get to the oil filter. If you don't know what an oil filter looks like, go ahead and start repeating the entire process until you figure it out. Now, to identify where your oil drain plug is, just follow the thermocoupler line, and it should be pretty much right behind that. This one's right here. This is your oil pan. It holds oil and other chemicals that your engine has in it. When removing your oil drain plug, it's important to use the proper size wrench. This way, you don't mess it up. Remember, before you go removing your drain plug, it's important to put an OSHA certified container underneath to catch all the oil. Then, simply remove your oil drain plug and let the used oil flow. Make sure you get every last drip. That way your car runs great. Uh-oh, looks like we've got just a little bit of oil on the ground. No problem. I'm just gonna clean it up with this rag. Now that your oil's finished draining, you can reinstall the drain plug. It's important to remove the oil filter. Now you're changing your oil like a real professional, and you're saving yourself big bucks. And if you save yourself big bucks, That means you can do more drugs. Before you go reinstalling your new oil filter, remember to do what the pros do. Only install filters that are blue. And if you need to, rub it on your beard a little bit. This way, the new filter won't fall off. It's time to install our new oil filter. Now it's time to fill your motor oil back up. Now with global warming on the rise, it's important that we all do our part. And to cut down on using oil, we need to put the oil that we took out of the vehicle back in the vehicle. This is called recycling. This way we can cut down on waste and all do our part to a more green world. Nowadays, it's not uncommon for vehicles to be equipped with a turbocharger, but this is simply for fuel economy. If you see a turbocharger on your car, just go ahead and pull it off. This will save you some pricey repairs in the future. It's important to remove and inspect your car's starter. No one really knows what a car starter does, and that's why it's more important to pull it off and inspect it. This one looks good. Now the most important part of your car is the engine's air filter. If it can't breathe, it might turn blue. Make sure you pull your filter out and give it a sniff. It should smell like a wet dog. And if it doesn't smell like a wet dog, make sure you haggle with the guy at the auto parts store because he probably doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's go ahead and remove and inspect our air filter. Your air filter is located right behind your metal cap. Let's go ahead and pull it out. Kind of tricky here. To reinstall your air filter, just do the opposite of what you did to get it out. Well, you've got your vehicle inside. Go ahead and inspect your brakes. Break all the wheel lug nuts loose. Then remove the wheel. Now that we've got our wheel off, it's important to identify some of the components in your braking system. This is your spin disc, which is what the caliper hits. And once the caliper hits it, it slows your vehicle down. With a bad caliper, you won't be stopping very good. So make sure you go into your automotive parts store and tell them Carlisle told you you need a new caliper. Brakes are very important for a car because they can slow the car down. But slowing the car down means you might get bad fuel economy. So before you go putting your brakes on, ask yourself, what's more important, wrecking or saving money? Don't over-tighten your acorn spinners or else you won't have enough wobble. If your wheel doesn't have enough wobble, you won't be able to swerve and miss squirrels. And you don't want to hurt squirrels. Now that your wheel's tight, you can lower it down on the ground. I hope you've enjoyed this instructional video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more Carlisle certified updates and stay ahead of the game.